My dad's deathbed confession ruined everything. 3 months ago, a man we believed had been dead for nearly 20 years showed up at my mother's door. He knocked like it was nothing. Scruffy gray beard, hollow cheeks, dragging a beat-up leather suitcase that looked like it had lived more life than most people. My older sister Laura opened the door and nearly collapsed. I honestly thought she might throw up, punch him, or both. To understand why, you need the backstory. Growing up, we were told our father was a hero, a journalist imprisoned overseas for speaking out against a corrupt regime, a man who stood for truth and freedom of the press. Then, years later, the official story came out. He died in prison from untreated pneumonia. No body, no funeral, just a tragedy and a story we were raised to believe. Laura never bought into the hero narrative. Even if the story were true, she hated him for leaving. She always said it didn't matter how noble the reason was. Gone was still gone. So when she saw him standing there alive, all she said, her voice shaking with anger, not shock, was, "You don't get to be here." My brother Michael reacted differently. He's quiet, thoughtful. He stared at our father for a long time, like he was trying to decide whether this was real life or a hallucination. Then he asked one question. "How did you get out of prison, and why now?" Me? I didn't feel anger or joy. It felt like the ground dropped out from under me. I had spent my entire life believing in a myth, a tragic hero, and standing in front of us was just a tired, broken old man. For weeks, he existed on the edges of our lives like a ghost. My mother refused to see him. She slammed the door on any idea of reconciliation. She said she had already buried that past and wasn't digging it up again. So my Aunt Bertha took him in. She gave him a small room at the back of her house. He didn't argue, just nodded and stayed quiet. Then one day, his body gave out. Doctors ran every test they could. Nothing made sense. His immune system was failing, but there was no infection, no cancer. It was like something inside him was rotting. Aunt Bertha said he barely ate, barely slept, complained constantly about headaches, said his mouth tasted wrong, bitter, metallic. Right before he died, he asked to see all three of us. Not to apologize, not to ask forgiveness, just to tell the truth. He could barely speak, but he refused to rest until he got it out. He told us he really had been imprisoned, but only for a few months. He was involved in political work, yes, but they let him go. He said he didn't come back because while he was locked up, our mother wrote him a letter. In that letter, she told him the truth, that we were not his biological children. He said everything in his life felt fake after that. So he disappeared. He faked his death. He hid. He didn't cry. He just spoke calmly, like a man finally putting down a weight he'd carried for decades. We didn't say a word. After he died, things got strange. Aunt Bertha called me 2 days after the funeral. She said she couldn't stay in the house anymore. She said the room he slept in felt heavy, wrong. She claimed she heard scratching sounds coming from the closet at night. Inside the closet was his old suitcase, still zipped, exactly where he left it. My brother Michael opened it. Inside were a few shirts, a half-used bar of soap, faded photographs of people we didn't recognize, and a leather-bound notebook filled with cramped handwriting. We brought it home. That was a mistake. At first, the notebook was full of political notes, names, numbers, but then the writing changed. It became paranoid, obsessive. Pages scratched out so hard they tore. One of the final entries read, "That night I couldn't sleep. My mouth tasted bitter, metallic, like chewing on aluminum foil. Laura tried to burn the notebook. It wouldn't catch fire. The edges blackened, but the pages never burned." The next day, I visited my mother. She looked older than I'd ever seen her. I asked her about the letter she sent while Dad was in prison, the one that made him disappear. She stared at me coldly and asked if I was high. Then she walked away. That night, Laura called screaming. She found Michael sitting fully clothed in the bathtub, repeating the same sentence over and over. He wasn't supposed to come back. We checked him into a clinic the next day. He hasn't spoken since. Now it's just me and the notebook I can't throw away. Sometimes I see my father in reflections, in places he shouldn't be, like he never left. like he's still watching us. I went back to Aunt Bertha's house for answers. She looked terrified, exhausted, like she hadn't slept in days. When I asked about the suitcase, she whispered, "I loved him." Then she asked me a question that still won't leave my head. Do you know what mercury does to the human body? And yeah, that's one of those moments that makes you wonder if timing is really just random. If this story got to you, like and follow for more real Reddit stories. The next one might be even more captivating.